Hello and welcome to this video showing the solutions for the worksheet which I posed regarding changing numerical patterns into graphs. As you can see on this sheet I have printed it out and I have started to populate the missing terms in the grids. So here we are adding 3 each time, so 4 plus 3 gives us 7, 7 plus 3 gives us 10, etc, etc. So 13 plus 3 gives us 16, and 16 plus 3 gives us 19. In question 2, we're going up 4 each time, so 4 plus 4 gives us 8, 8 plus 4 gives us 12, and so on, up to 16 plus 4 gives us 20, and then plus 4 gives us 24. Hosting a children's party in question 3, we're going up 2 each time. So each time we add an additional child, we're adding on the cost of £2. So 12 plus 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16, plus 2 is 18, plus 2 20, and plus 2 22. Staying at a hotel, this time we're working out the cost of an extra £40. So if I zoom in on that a little, 94 take away 54 is 40. 134 take away 94 is also 40, giving us that we're adding 40 each time. So if I add 40, I get 214 and 254 for 6 and 7 respectively. Sometimes we don't have a scenario, so we can just simply have P and Q, or any two letters which may well be linked. So this time we're going up in 5s. So my two missing figures this time are 26 and 31. You would get a mark for each of those missing answers. What the question asked you to do was to, for part A, work out how many extra chairs were needed for each new table. So for my first example, that was an additional 3. What I've done is I've worked out solutions. When I have to work out how many for 10, so therefore that's 3 times 10 and then an extra 1, so 30 plus 1 is 31 chairs. And to find the number of chairs, you multiply the number of tables, t, by 3, and then add 1, leading to a formula, c equals 3 times t plus 1. Well, I've plotted the graph, and as you can see, what I've done is I've gone up one each time in both of the axes because it fits nicely on the page. That won't also always be the case, and I'll come to that later on. For question 2, building a fence, there is my answers. So 4 extra rails needed for each extra post. 4 times 12 take away 4 is 48, take away 4 is 44 rails. To find the number of rails R, multiply the number of posts P by 4 and then take off 4. So here we are adding 4 each time. That's the multiplier. Okay, so we're multiplying by 4. And then 4 times 2 is 8. And how do we adjust that to get 4? We take 4 back off. That's where I'm getting my information from there. Gives us a formula, R equals 4 times P, take away 4. Again, I have used 1 per box, and that's giving me a nice neat graph. Now notably here, because that is a takeaway, it is not at this point going anywhere up the axis, it's cutting the horizontal axis instead. Okay, over the page on the borrowed jotter. So it costs an extra £2 for each extra child. 20 times 2, and then we're adding 6 because at the top here, 3 times 2 is 6, and then we need to add an extra 6 to get 12. So that gives us 40 plus 6 is £46. So to find the total cost T, you multiply the number of children C by 2 and then add £6. So T equals 2C plus 6. There's my graph, and as you can see, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the number that each extra 1 across, so if I go 1 along, I'll go 2 up, and that's the number 2 that's in front. So that tells you how many you're going to go up each time for every 1 box along, and then the plus 6 is in fact actually where it cuts the axis here. Now I've skipped out question 4 because it's a much larger question, because I wanted to show question 5 first. I should have probably done them the other way around on the worksheet. But there are an extra 5 Qs for every extra P that you get. meaning that in order to work out how many for 9, that's 9 times 5, add 1, 45 plus 1 is 46. So to find the number of q, you multiply p by 5 and then add 1, giving you q equals 5 times p plus 1. Now what I've done here, because the graph won't quite fit on my page, I've kept my horizontal axis going along the way here. We're going along one at a time, but I don't know if you notice, I'm going up 2's. Okay, so what that means, you can do that to help you fit on the page, but it's really important that you have a scale where you go. Now, if I were to be at the point where I was going to ask for 8 p's, I can use this line if I extend it to estimate the number of q. So here, I've come up, I've hit the line, and I'm going to look across. That's between 40 and 42, so I estimate that it's going to be 41. In fact, 5 times 8 plus 1 is 41. Okay, question 4. The thing that you need to do, as I said, is to maybe do a takeaway to get how many you're adding on each time. So for part A, every extra night's costing an extra £40. So 15 nights, 15 times 40, and then take away 26 gives us 574, leading eventually to a formula of t equals 40 times n, the number of nights, take away 26. Now, what I've done to fit it on the page, and some of you may have struggled with this, is I've gone up in 5's. Okay, so up my vertical axis by 5's. So similar to I did the last time, I've plotted that, but that's what the graph looks like. Okay, hopefully everyone got these. Give yourself a mark for every bit that you got right, and drop me an email if there's any questions at all. Cheers.